I've been vlogging since I was 16, and so I, made like a video. I made like this ad, like a video ad, and nobody else did that. And they were like, the next day they were like, "Who is this?" And I was like, "Me." They were like, "You're a fucking legend, yeah." And so like I like stepped into it like already like a boss, And so within a year I stepped into the highest paying sales role, and I was managing $1 billion annually for them.
I like your hood.
Thank you.
Really brings out your eyes.
I like your hood.
Yeah. Wow. So nervous. So much butterflies in my stomach. Well, anyways, I think we should get started. How have you been, Jeannie?
Dude, absolutely amazing.
Your name is so awesome. And the entire name, though, it's Virginia Salas Castillo. Spanish, but aren't you
It's
German?
a spelling mistake. So it's actually supposed to be Salas Castillo, but like
Castillo.
my mom's Russian and they like misspelt it, and she was just like, "Oh well."
Yeah. It's a good mix, and it was cool because we have this podcast. We have Simone like Snapchatting, and in the corner we have Hanson. Have you met Hanson?
We've messaged each other before on WhatsApp and stuff. Yeah,
on the CrossFit Wanderlust.
Exactly. Yeah.
But we've never met actually.
Yeah.
There's so much. Hanson is the best person in terms of like video and whatever, and he has like this team of editors, and he's like been a godsend in helping this like come together. But there's like so much synchronicity that has happened in this table. Like for example, I met you because of Trinity. Then I met Simone, who then you met, but then Simone introduced me to Hanson, and it's just one giant like opportunity orgy for everyone to just kind of like get to the next level. You know?
Totally. I love opportunity orgies. Those are my favorite kind.
Yeah, it's the best. It's really interesting, especially when you have like this. This isn't rock cacao. This is kratom.
Kratom. Have you had kratom before?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, this is strong. Woo. You're gonna see it hit me like in the next 30 minutes.
Wait, how much you put in here?
I don't know. Simone just went so much overboard.
Have you made kratom before?
Oh yes.
Okay, so it's not like a.
No, it's just
man.
Teaspoon.
All right, cool.
Anyways, so I was actually I find this like really interesting because you're just your personality, your vibe. We hang out every now and then, and every single time we meet, even though we never have like a full in-depth conversation, I feel like I already know you because we kind of resonate in the like our heart spaces are in the same level. So I was super excited to have you on because now for the time being, I mean, you have a meeting at 11-ish, 30-ish, and then I know Hanson has to go to Ubud. But this is the first time that I think we're going to have an extended conversation. I'm actually excited where our minds and our like little opportunity orgies go with all the things that we are consuming right now with the water and that kratom.
Hell yeah, same. I'm super stoked, dude.
Yeah, so but I actually want to know more about your story because like I said, every single person that I've ever met, they only have amazing things to say to you or about you. And I'm like it's so cool because when you go in the room, you never really have to introduce yourself. You never have to even, like some people come in the room here in Bali and they're like, oh, I've done this. I've created this company. I have this. And you're just there and everyone already knows who you are. So how did that come about? How did you become that person where instead of you kind of expressing who you are, you have like this amazing group of amazing human beings just almost like saying all of the amazing things that you've done?
Yeah, I'm so smart, aren't I?
Yeah, I think it's the
great
hood.
marketing strategy.
For sure the hood.
No, I think I'm just very lucky that I very soon kind of like shedded ego and was like, it's not about, and found out the most important thing, that it's not about you talking about all the things that you did and like what are your accomplishments and, oh, I'm building I Trust University and I'm doing this and I'm friends with, this founder and this founder, It's really about just like doing the work and like showing up and letting that work speak for you, speak for itself, as well as the people that you're affecting, right? So it's like, how do you measure your influence? It's like how many people that you've actually helped in the world. And that's what I care about. And so I'm just glad that I hear that feedback because I'm usually not there when people are talking about me. But from the, I'm really noticing it, especially here in Bali. I've been nomadic since I was 3 years old. So this is the first time that I'm really kind of creating a community like in the real world because my community is online, and so it's really nice to kind of see people recognize me. Like when I walk into a mastermind or some kind of event, they're like, oh, you're the founder of I Trust You. And I'm like, oh, thanks. Like, you know my shit. Cool. You know? And so it's like, it's really nice to have like an actual like physical community of people that are present. And yeah, I mean, I've been working on this for a really, really long time. And, you know, when by this, it's mainly myself, right? I think it's really about like how much inner work that we're doing and, you know, being present and showing up in a space of service. And, you know, it wasn't always like that. Like when I started becoming an influencer, I think it was very much because, you know, I got teased a lot in school. Like I went to 15 different schools as well. So I played like every role. Like I was like the goth, the nerd, the sporty girl, you know what I mean? Like I kind of did all of that. And so I was like, okay, well, now that I'm like growing up and I moved out of home when I was 16, I was like, now I have an opportunity to become popular. You know, like that was like definitely a driver. I was like, I want to be with the cool kids. Like I want to be seen, you know? And so my lifelong passion since I was like 5 years old has been film, video, content. Like I've always wanted to be on TV. Like I've always wanted to like act and express myself and did a lot of theater and stuff like that. And so that's kind of originally, I feel like where the influencing was coming from, like from being lonely, like living on an avocado farm in the south of Spain with my pygmy goat Sam and Frodo, you know, and like going on adventures and, you know, just like showing my life. And I was like, I was alone a lot of the time. So I was like, let me like dance and like make Snapchat stories. And then that became into like marketing strategy and like network building and all this kind of stuff. And then finally in like the last few years, I was like really like, well, what am I doing all this for? Like, what am I living for? What's the whole point of all this? And then I was like, really went within and I was like, well, to serve, like to help other people, to be a catalyst and create a space where others can feel comfortable to be their full self-expressed selves. And so that was like the transition.
Yeah. And even just like what you're saying on how you were weird in the beginning, I think it's good to be weird, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, we're here in Bali and it's almost like the weirder you are, the cooler you are.
Totally.
Right? The more interesting your life story is, all of like the hardships that you went through, the more everyone just celebrates you. And I think that's why, you know, everyone, when they talk about you or even when you're not in the room, they only say good things that you're doing. They want to help you out. And it's because I feel like you've added so much value to so many people's lives without actually taking anything that, you know, the universe just kind of like compensates that. And I mean, there was this quote, it said, that which supports life gets supported by life. And you're truly like an amazing example of that. But let's actually talk more about the I Trust You movement, because I still am familiar with it, but I don't know too much about it. I know one of the biggest things that I do support is this thing of loneliness, because number one, so many entrepreneurs, so many of the round pegs that can't fit in the square holes, we feel alone. We feel scared. There's so many people out there that are even listening to this right now that feel like they don't have a place. They might be the weird ones out of their friends, you know, like, especially like all of us, man. Like I was talking to Hansi and I was talking to Simone, I was talking to you. When we're back at home, we're the weirdest ones out of our friends. Like they see what we're doing, they're like, oh man, like it gets them nervous. And instead of them accepting it, they almost try throwing rocks at us to bring us down, you know? So can you talk more about that in your specific situation? Because you were just in a farm selling avocado
with a pygmy.
With a pygmy.
That's so cool.
What?
I think it's cool.
That's dope.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
So the landlords, they sold the avocados, although sometimes, because there was 3 acres of avocados, so sometimes I would like pick up the fallen ones, and like I did actually go and like just sell them for fun once in the city, because, you know, I'm a sales girl, so I like to kind of like make my own like playtime like that. But no, I was actually working for Oracle, which is an IT company doing account management and marketing and stuff. But so yeah, you were asking like what specifically does the I Trust You movement do?
Where did this stem from? Like when did you go from, because I was doing some research on you, and I mean, you are one of the top women's influencers on Inc. magazine. You are like the #1 Snapchat female entrepreneur in the world, which is amazing, right? Because Snapchat, you have to be super entertaining to actually get the attention, and obviously that's how you were able to do that. And on top of that, I mean, you've also helped people like NASDAQ and the BBC. You've helped generate your clients millions of dollars. So when did the switch happen of going from, okay, I can actually help other people with their business and their strategy and getting them out there with like your agency. And if I could do that, when did the switch happen when you're like, oh, well, I could actually use this for humanitarian purposes and actually help the world instead of just making a bunch of money? Because what you've kind of figured out is money comes easy, but what doesn't is fulfillment and community and tribe and having a place of belonging where you connect people and you help everyone's expertise and geniuses get everyone to the next level, you know?
Yeah, you totally painted the perfect picture. That's exactly kind of what happened. Yeah. You feel me inside you. Yeah, so basically, so I moved out of home when I was 16, so I'm going to rewind a little bit. And I started going to university and started studying psychology because my mom wanted me to be a doctor. You know, I have a Russian mom who's like, you can either be two things, like a lawyer or a doctor. That's like,
Or disowned.
Exactly.
Unworthy.
Yeah. And so I was like, okay, I don't want to like operate on people or like see blood or like interact with like sick people whatsoever. I was like, I'll be a psychologist. Like, I'll still get that doctor degree, you know, make you proud, mom. And so I moved out at 16 and went to this gifted program at Salzburg University, started studying psychology. And I was like, this is all wrong. Like, this is completely backward. Like, all psychology does is tell you what your problems are and make you even more sick because you're like, I'm depressed. And that's your only thought that you have the whole time, how depressed you are. And that's why people get put on these meds and they're like bipolar and depressed for years and years and years, right? And so I was like, this is not right. And I've always been like, as a child, I've always been a philosopher. You know, I read Sophie's World and I'm like, yeah, I've had past lives and I'm really old soul. You know, like I was like really like tapped in. And so I was like, okay, this isn't the thing. And I was like, what I want to do is I want to be a storyteller. I want to be a filmmaker and a writer and share my story with other like kids all over the world that they can have the same impact that I have. Like, you know, it started this journey of awakening. And so stopped studying psychology. Went to the dean of the English department and I was like, hey, I want to, you know, switch to English and I needed all these like credits and stuff for it. And she was like, dude, you're 16 years old. Like, why are you here at university? Like, go back to school. Like, everything that you're doing here is not going to be valid if you're not in high school anyways, like if you don't have the degree. I was like, damn. So I went back to high school, finished that. And then when I was 19, I moved to Australia and, you know, did the whole like work thing experience, et cetera. And then I went back to Austria, studied sociology and English literature. And then there I got, in my like last semester of university, I got offered a job at Apple Computers in Ireland, which is like their EU headquarters. And so there for the first time in my life, because like I grew up poor basically, like I moved out at 16 with $300 in my pocket, like had to like work 3 jobs, like babysit cats and like, you know, like carry out magazines and all this random stuff in order to support myself. And suddenly I was getting offered, you know, more than my dad earns, you know, to work at Apple. And, you know, was like put in this incredible role. Like we were super, you know, an amazing department. And so I started earning money for the first time. But most importantly, I started learning about business. I started learning about marketing and being able to see behind the scenes in one of the like most iconic, important companies of our time. And I was like, this shit's quite simple. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, this is really like basic stuff. Like everyone's making such a big deal out of, you know, like business and everything. And I was like, it's just human communication. It's just like showing up and being like, hey, like, what can I do for you today? Like, you know, what are you up to? How can I support you? You know? And so from like when I stepped into Apple, actually like the first day, like everybody knew me because I was like, you know, I've been vlogging since I was 16. And so I, you know, made like a video. I made like this ad, like a video ad, and nobody else did that. And they were like, the next day they were like, who is this? And I was like, me. They're like, you're a fucking legend. Yeah. And so like I like stepped into it like already like a boss, you know? And so within a year, I stepped into the highest paying sales role and I was managing $1 billion annually for them. They used to call me Virginia Sales Castillo. And, you know, so I did all that. And then from there, like my manager came to me and he's like, Virginia, in 6 months, I don't have a job for you. Like, you're going to be bored. Like, I don't know what to do anymore for you. Like, you've already like won. And I was like, okay, like, well, what should I do next? I'm like this young girl of like 23, 24. And he's like, go to Oracle. Like, they are, you know, the toughest in the field. They'll give you an amazing sales training. Like, that's really like the next Shark Tank. And I was like, okay, let's go play. You know, they have like 95% men in there, you know? So I was like, and so I doubled my salary, moved to the south of Spain because like I'm a sunshine girl, you know, like I do not like living in Ireland with the rain, you know? And so I moved to the south of Spain and had this amazing job, you know, was living on my avocado farm, driving my like A4 Audi convertible, like in my underwear, like at the gas station, like, hey boys, you know, just like having the best time.
What up, babe?
Yeah.
Want some avocados?
Yeah.
Let me go babysit your cat. Are you talking dirty to me?
That's so funny.
Yeah, and so, you know, like I had everything. And then one day I went on a Tinder date. I went on a lot of Tinder dates in that time. And with this guy named Morton, and he was like, dude, like, you're a genius. Like, he was like the first like entrepreneur, like personal development kind of guy that I'd met. And so we just like, you know, like screw the date part, but we were just like masterminding. He's like, you're awesome, blah, blah, blah. He's like, this is how you go viral on YouTube. And we just like started like, you know, went to this like whole space. And he's like, you're totally wasting your time with these companies. Like, you should be like building your own thing. And he's like, you've been on YouTube like since you were 16, you know what I mean? And like, you're not going viral. Like, this is how you go viral. And he started telling me like all this stuff. And so my first video that I did about hugging strangers was with him, and like we collaborated, and like it really like put me into a space. And then he was speaking at this conference called Lifestyle Design Conference in Zurich, and he invited me like to come like as a friend. And so I was like all of a sudden with all these people, all these entrepreneurs that are like making their money online and like totally living like in freedom. And I was like, what? Like, I thought I was like this big boss, like working for corporate and like, you know, showing them, you know? And I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, I'm playing so small. And so it really like expanded my worldview. And that's when I was like, okay, well, if I want to do anything, like, what is it? And I was like, I want to be an influencer. I want to go into content. And so I watched Gary Vee's TED Talk, Do What You Love, No Matter What. And then I started watching some like interviews with him, and he said the next platform that's going to blow up is Snapchat. And so I was like, you know, like light bulb. And so I started like account managing myself as an influencer as if I would do for one of my clients at Apple or Oracle. And so I did a list of like all the influencers, like who is making money right now on Snapchat. I started following them. I started engaging with them, like reaching out to them. And then what I did is I reached out to them on LinkedIn, because that's somewhere that influencers never get like hit up on, you know, like it's like, you know, people are trying to message them on Snapchat or Instagram or whatever. And so I started like reaching out to all the influencers that I could find on LinkedIn, until one finally wrote back. And I actually thought he worked for Snapchat, and my angle was different. I was like, I wasn't like, hey, I want to collaborate with you. I was like, hey, I'm thinking about doing like a global event on Snapchat, and like, would you be interested in, you know, maybe speaking or whatever, like bringing them value, bringing them an opportunity. And so this guy came back to me, and I thought he actually worked for Snapchat. It turned out he was the second biggest Snapchat influencer, like at the time, at the moment, like making big bucks.
Like under DJ Khaled, was this when everyone was like, keys, soap is keys, or cocoa butter? You see that on Snapchat?
No.
He was just walking around, and that's how I heard about Snapchat. He was like,
yeah,
want to be successful, keys, success, butter. And I'm like, what?
I know, this guy's a genius. He actually went viral because he got lost on his jet ski. So he has like this whole story. He's like getting lost. He's like, oh my God, I don't know where I am. He's like in the middle of the water and everything. He's like Snapchatting, you know. So that's how he went viral. But yeah, so this guy, his name was Mike Platko, and he was like working for Disney and like all these other companies. And it turns out we were both obsessed with Harry Potter. And so like that was like my in. And anyways, we decided to do like a Snapchat collaboration, and he brought me into like the whole community and all these influencers suddenly that were on my list, and none of them replied to me. Like they were all like, we don't care. You know, and he was the only one like who was like, hey, like I think you're cool, like come into the crowd. And then all these people that I'd messaged to on LinkedIn, suddenly I was sitting with them all like hanging out in like New York and collaborating. I'm like, yeah, I saw you didn't write me back.
Yeah. I saw you left me at scene. Yes. I saw you open it. You couldn't even like put it on airplane mode to like show that you didn't open it, but you read it, you know? Yeah.
And some people like also just like they did write back, but they just rejected me, you know, but I'm just like, yeah, that's right. You know, you can't get rid of me. But anyway, so there was like all of that. And then so I was locked in with Oracle like till a certain time till I could quit the job. You know, they're smart like that. But at the meanwhile, I was building my Snapchat, and I was like, you know, account growth hacking, and like on Reddit, like I became like the Reddit Snapchat queen.
What year was this?
This was like 3 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, or 4 years, I don't know. I'm getting old. But so basically, so I grew this following, and then I was like, okay, like now it's time to like quit Oracle. Like, what am I gonna do? Like, what is like the thing that I want to follow? And I didn't feel ready to be an entrepreneur yet, because like I really didn't know anything about it. So I was like, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna research. And so I branded myself as a happiness researcher. So I was like, I'm gonna travel the world like a nomad and just interview people on like what makes them happy and like figure this happiness thing out. And so within that, you know, a year of doing that, and getting like I kept on going to conferences. I got invited to speak at like South by Southwest, which was like my first big like speaking gig as a Snapchat influencer. And then people were just like offering me money to help them with their strategy, with their social media strategy. And so that's how I was kind of like supporting myself. But within that whole journey of like speaking to all these people and traveling the world and studying happiness, I really found the key, like the secret to happiness. And it first starts with gratitude. Like when you're grateful, like there's no like way that you can be unhappy. You're just like, I'm so grateful for everything I have, like really acknowledging the life that you have and the gift of you being here. And then the next part, what we really needed is connection. And that's what you mentioned before is we feel so lonely and disconnected, and we're starting to get like afraid of other people. And I was in New York, especially when I got this insight, and I was like, whoa, like people are really like not seeing each other. Like they're looking down, like there's no interaction. And here in Bali, where, we live the like best life where you're just like sitting somewhere at like Cafe Vita and you're like, hey, what are you doing? You know what I mean? You look interesting.
Can
Let's
I
have a
eye gaze in
conversation.
your eyes?
Yeah, exactly.
We'll breathe simultaneously.
Do you think that most people in Bali are more open and to talking to strangers in cafes?
Oh my God.
So why do you think that?
I think it's because there's a specific type of person that comes to Bali, right? And, you have to have your own business. Like it is really like a space for digital nomads. And, so you've already had to have like explore a little bit of out of the box thinking. And, we all come here and we start our like whole life anew, making new friends and everything. And I think that's why we're like so excited to connect. We're just like, hey, I just got here. I don't know anybody. Like, who are you, And then I think another part of it, which plays such a massive part, is just like the Balinese. They're such lovely people.
They're so grateful.
Amazing.
You see them every single morning offering to like their gods of the island of gods, every single day. Before the day even starts, they're already starting what you were talking about in gratitude.
Exactly. And so these streets literally get prayed on 5 times a day. You know what I mean? Like with like incense and flowers and everything. And so I think that there's something about that. And then when you see this kites in the sky, they're like literally warding off like the evil spirits, So when I see the kites, I'm like, we're being protected.
So for the people who are listening, you can feel a different energy in Bali.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
What I found and what I noticed with Bali is, I mean, you're familiar with like fractals, right? Like everything is a fractal. For those that are listening and they don't know what fractals are, it's as you zoom in to this object, it's just more of the same. Kind of like if you look at a tree, if you look deep into the roots look just like how the tree looks. And then if you look straighter into the cells, it still looks like a smaller tree,
Right.
And it's the exact same thing with the universe. You have the planets all going around the solar system or the sun, kind of like how molecules are going around an atom or electrons are going around an atom, right? And what I find why it's like so different here is because you have all of these people that were lonely, that were in pain, that were struggling either financially or emotionally or with their intimacy problems. And they travel east to find answers, right? And a lot of them go to Thailand, a lot of them go to India, a lot of them go to Bali. What happens is, like how electrons move around an atom really fast, the faster it goes, the higher potential it actually has to crash in each other and have an opportunity to create that catalysm. It's the exact same thing here. Every single day there's more amazing people coming in and out, and there's more opportunities of people that are actually opening themselves up to opportunity and actually focusing on collaboration instead of competition. What happens when you do that? It's just like a vortex of, think about how we all met, right? I came here by myself. You came here by yourself. Hanson came by himself. Simone was just like dancing in. And for those that don't know who Simone is, she's like on the side. She's now your assistant.
Yeah,
right?
she's my personal assistant.
Woo-hoo.
So
Wow.
That's good.
I've been like, I need to clone myself. She literally has a second copy of my phone and everything. So I need that extra support as, we're growing this community. And Simone just has like the absolute like right heart and soul to represent this. And so I've just been like feeling her and seeing her like dance around the world, and the way I think she's a total healer when she touches people, when she comes into the space. So I'm excited to have her.
Simone is like a master. That's how I met Mike, was through Simone's.
Yeah, she just comes up to you at Oma Jumbo. She's like, hello. And then she just gives him like a big hug, and your cheeks are like, when your grandma like kisses you and like grabs your face is just like this. And for those that are listening, And she like kisses your face. She doesn't even know if she knows you. She's like, oh, I love you so much. And I'm like, oh, hey. Like I remember we were eating at this place, and there was this girl from New York that was traveling, and everyone was just like introducing each other, and then even just like a handshake. Simone just put so much love in her hands. She's like, give me your hand. It's like, oh, it was nice to meet you.
I know, but she's so strong as well. She squeezes your hand so hard. You're like, yes, that feels so good.
But this is the craziest thing. That when you start noticing who actually in their life is not used to actually just being loved and affectionate, just openly with no actual return.
Yeah.
Like this girl's
she touches your arms.
She'll literally
here.
feel you up, and I'm like, yo, if you were like an older woman, you know. But yeah, no, this girl from New York, she was like, she kind of like freaked out because she's never been that much loved on, which is weird, right?
Yeah.
Like our initial set point is to actually run away from love.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And the thing is that it's actually the thing that we're craving the most. And the reason why we run away from love is the fear of rejection. Because like if I were to dare to really like let myself go in that hug and be seen, and then suddenly like you're like, what are you doing? You're like, oh, sorry. You know, like we're still kind of carrying so many of these wounds with us, you know. And so yeah, that's why when I was in New York, you can imagine like exactly what you're describing with this girl is when I had that like insight. I was like, we need to bring humanity closer together on a global level, and it has to be super simple. And that's when I was just like, okay, we're going to create this shirt with I trust you, and anyone you see wearing it, you can hug them. You know, like it's just like, let's invite that opportunity for people that they can actually, because I know that we want to connect. So like, let's give them an icebreaker. Like, let's just give them an excuse. You know, it's like, oh, you're wearing this shirt. I'm sorry, I have to hug you, you know?
Can you explain what you did in New York for those that are like listening?
Yeah, so when I launched the brand, I did it with the I Trust You experiment. And I didn't make this up. Other people have done this all over the world, but I just took it and I was like, we need to allow more people to do this and, you know, make it into a shirt. So I blindfolded myself and I had a sign that said, I trust you, do you trust me, give me a hug. And it's really important, like the blindfold, because what you're doing is you are just giving permission and making it okay. Like you're just like, I'm not like, imagine you're just like staring at someone like,
hug me
yeah,
now.
Exactly. Yeah, like it's like you're like looking at everyone. So it's like, I'm just removing myself. If you hug me or not, that's totally fine. So like, I'm just like here, I'm blindfolded, like I have my arms open. Whoever wants to come, it's good. If you don't, hey, it's chill. You know, I can't see you anyway, so I don't know. You know, and so it just like, it makes it, and there's a vulnerability there as well, because they're like, oh, this person's blindfolded. Like, I want to hold them, you know? And so what I experienced with these like social experiments is that you're able to catalyze hundreds of people at once, if not millions of people, right? Because I'm there, anyone that gets a hug, they get like amplified and they get this like little love sparkle on them. They're like, you know, they like walk away from you with like a skip in their step and they're like, yeah, I've connected with someone, I've felt with someone, because hugs are literally medicine. You are putting your energy into someone. And what I do as well when I do these experiments, I always try to give people little compliments like, you smell good, or like, oh, you're such a good hugger, you know,
taste
like,
good.
Yeah. And they love it. And they're just like, oh, I'm getting like seen and acknowledged. And it's just like so beautiful. And so many people like were like, you have no idea how much I needed that today, you know, because we don't stop often enough to just be like, I see you, you know?
Well, people are just going and walking throughout the streets, especially in New York. They're not even thinking, right? Like when we were working at jobs, I don't even remember the hour or two that it took me to actually go to work. It's just almost like I blinked and I'm like, where the hell am I? And then I blink again and I'm like at home again. Totally. And I blink again and then I'm like asleep, and it's just like me doing that. Was there anyone, I'm always curious because the idea sounds amazing, like the hugging of people, right? But were you ever surprised in someone hugging and you're like, oh, that's like a new feeling? I've never actually felt this type of body before. You know, like that's what I'd be curious on. I wouldn't know what to expect when someone's just coming up to me with open arms and like, oh, wow. You know?
Yeah.
I feel kind of nice.
Yeah, I feel like, so there's everyone's energy is different. Everyone has a different level of comfort and stuff. But when I was doing it at Bali Spirit Fest and I blindfolded myself and I didn't have a sign. Sometimes I just blindfold myself now with the I Trust You shirt, see what happens. You know what I mean?
Not while driving though, right? Just the solution.
Yeah, exactly. Just in like public spaces.
Yeah.
And, you know, just see what people do. And so at Bali Spirit Fest, it was really interesting because Some people started like giving me food, like to see if I trust them, like to
Really?
eat their food or drink
so
out of their
beautiful.
bottle and stuff. And one guy like picked me up for acro yoga, and I did like a bird and stuff, and just like all this fun stuff. Yeah. And but this one guy, he like, we got into this like really deep, like Bali Ubud space where it was like, I see your soul, like, how are you feeling? Yeah. And so we actually went into like his deepest darkness. Like he was just like telling me like what he was like going through and like all this stuff. And so we just like really like, we did like breath work and like, and we were just really there for like 20 minutes or something. And like now he's one of my best friends, his name is Will. And, it's just like a really interesting space to come into someone with and like feel their energy and like just like hug and just drop in without being like, I don't even know what you look like. It's like not important. Like you're just a human being to me right now.
That's such an interesting experience.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you think the blindfold played a huge role? Because I know, for example, for me, and this is like one of my biggest weaknesses and this is just something as like a male in my 20s, and I'm very well aware of it, and I understand that how I judge other people is how I judge myself 10 times worse. Mm-hmm. Like if I see someone, I'm like, oh, that person is XYZ. That's because I see myself as XYZ times 10, right? Mm-hmm. And I think when you see someone with your eyes, even though you think it's what you see, you're just almost creating a story in front of this person. And then you're already judging this person before you're actually allowing them into your life.
Yeah. And it's so important that we eradicate that, because how many people have like surprised the crap out of you? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Even this guy, like when I saw his photo, like he had this like long beard and like this long hair, and he just looked like this dirty hippie. You know what I mean? Like that just like floats around and like doesn't do anything, but like he built this like 7-figure company that he just sold, you know what I mean, like 2 months earlier, and is like, and then went to India to like meditate for 2 months like in caves and stuff with like gurus, and is like the dopest, coolest guy and like amazingly successful entrepreneur, and I was like, wow, I would have just totally judged you. You know what I mean? Like, to be 100% honest, I would have been like, and because I'm such an entrepreneur, like I love talking about business like all day long. I'm like, if we can't talk about business, like there's just something missing, like I'll get bored. So and I wouldn't have known that about him.
I just had an amazing idea, and I definitely want to try it when you come back. You're leaving for 2 months, right?
Yeah.
And you're going to come back? Okay, great. So when you were talking about this concept of closing your eyes and just opening up and just seeing whatever comes your way and just already embracing it, even though it's the unknown, which is super strong and super amazing on your part, because especially there's so many people that close themselves off from old trauma that it's kind of like when we were talking about Dr. Joe Dispenza, they're trying to create a new future, but they're doing it with the past mind. Mm-hmm. So many people are reliving in their old habits that they can never get out of it. But when you were talking about meeting someone that you weren't actually going to meet because you might have judged them, kind of like how we all do. There was this video of this people that were around a table like this, but they were having a dinner, right? Except the dinner, everything was pitch black and you couldn't see anything. You were just eating the food that they were giving you. But what happened was in this dinner, there was around I think 10 people around this round table. And it was kind of like an open dialogue where they were just all talking about their life story. And one of them was talking about how like everyone was around this table and there was 10 people and each were kind of just having whatever they wanted to share in their heart, they would say it out loud. The rule was no one would judge each other, and that allowed everyone to kind of be their authentic selves. What happened is there was this one guy that was like, oh, I'm this classical musicianist that loves really the art and spending time with my family and, just really going and serving and doing charities and working on philanthropy work. And then there was this other person that was like, oh, I really just like listening to rock music and just hitting my drums and really going out with my friends into the bars. And the craziest thing is at the end, they would have this dinner for like an hour or two. Everyone started bonding, but they had no idea what each other looked like. And then when the lights turned on, they all guessed which voice belonged to which person. Oh. And the most insane part is the person that was really wanting to go into the philanthropy, the charity work, that is a musician that plays in a choir, that plays the violin. When you saw his face, he was this guy that literally looked like the Hulk. He had one of those mohawks that were like the spiky ones. He had tattoos on his face, man.
Wow.
And just like piercings everywhere. And this was a guy that was just playing the violin. And the rocker guy that's just like wanting to go on the bars, he was wearing a suit. He looked like a businessman and he was in his like late 50s. So it's like you really don't know people. And it blows my mind I'm just looking back in my life and it's like I'm more aware of it, but yet I know I do this, that how many people listening in are throwing away so much opportunity because their brains are trying to be efficient and just already judging this person before they actually get to know them.
Yeah.
You know?
Such a massive wake up call for sure.
Like, would you want to do that? You want to just like invite
We
some
can
people?
turn off the lights here. Everyone's talking and everyone comes in with blindfolds and we just feed them kratom.
we're just gonna have them
Dry
snort it.
kratom.
Shake kratom.
I feel like a good thing we can do as well when I come back is blindfold ourselves and have a sign that says "Be my eyes." So I did this for 11 hours at a Envision festival, and I just had people guide me around blindfolded, and it was incredible. Like it's like you're completely trusting life. Like you're like in surrender. You're like, I don't care where I'm gonna end up.
Would you hop on a moped though?
Yeah, probably.
I'll film this.
A Gojek?
I'm into
Yeah,
that.
that
Would you
would
film
be
this?
such a
Yes,
cool.
Would you film it with your
100%.
blindfold on though?
Yeah.
Because we all have blindfolds.
I'm like running into a wall.
You're gonna be B-rolling like a blank wall.
Yeah. You can still hear the audio, but it's just like repeatedly into like a wall. Like this is the interesting.
But
show.
yeah, right?
Yeah,
Wouldn't
I'm
that be
down.
such a
That's
great
so-
yeah.
I love this idea. Yeah.
And seeing like the different people and where they bring you and like they feed you, because the thing is you don't have any money. You know what I mean? Like you don't have any money. You're like, I'm just trusting. If you feed me, you feed me. You know what I mean? Like I was just like, it was incredible. And people felt, it was beautiful because people really felt like so responsible for me. Like I was like a little child that they had to take care of. You know what I mean? Because they had to like walk with me because I couldn't see where I'm going. So they're like, okay, step your foot up. There's a branch. There's this. You know what I mean? Like trying
Were
to.
you
really,
by yourself, or did you have friends watching you the whole time?
No, completely by myself. Yeah.
Wow.
But that just shows just how, even though when our guards are up, we're innately afraid of love, when people are actually very transparent and show that they really have nothing, human nature's real default is actually to help.
100%.
And that's so weird. Like, have you ever seen, it's a YouTube channel, Yes Theory?
Yes. Yeah.
They do this exact same thing where they will take one of the persons. So, for example, say we would just draw a card, right? Like out of us four, because there's four for the people that are just listening in. It's me, Genie, right? Like the magical being sent from to save Aladdin's soul, right? Okay, awesome. And then we have Hanson and we have Simone. So how they would do it is they would have, like, for example, cards. They would draw cards or they would draw straws. And the person with the shortest stick, basically, and this is just like metaphorically speaking, they don't do the stick thing. This is just what I could, explain it. The person with the shortest stick in this thing would be like, okay, they would have to fly this person to a random part of the world with no money.
Yeah.
And they have to find a way back. Imagine how dope of a video that would be.
Dude, I saw that video. It was awesome. It was when Amar, right?
Yeah. And he was crying and he was just so
like,
vulnerable.
He's like, where am I?
He was like in like the off coast of Russia, man.
Oh, it was so cool. It was so cool.
He's Egyptian. He looks like so different compared to like everyone else.
And no one spoke English. So he was like asking kids and stuff like where he was, and they're like, we don't understand you. He's like, oh man, where am I?
Imagine that amount of trust in humanity. Like, for example, we just ship Simone out to, we won't even tell her. And no matter what, she'll start like an ecstatic dance community. That's for sure.
For sure.
They're gonna probably think she's a goddess.
Yeah.
Like
They will worship her 100%. She has angel wings on her back, so I mean,
Yeah.
she just has to show those. She's like, I'm an angel. I'm here to save you.
But yeah, what I think we should definitely play around with that idea of just those experiments, because when I build businesses, most of the times it's just for the revenue and the money, and especially like a male in my 20s, it's more so to feed my ego, and I really hate that about myself. That's why I want to do this. That's why I'm trying to like bring as much people in, because I feel like the more we could just lead with our hearts and collaborate, because also on the other end of things, when we do spend so much time alone, is we almost think that it's like a me versus the world,
Yeah.
instead of a we thing, right? Like, do you feel like that when you're doing video all
I
the
fight
time?
myself feeling that. Like I started feeling like, whoa, I could just reach out to my friends and whatever to get that support. But yeah, when you're locked in a room for 2 weeks editing and creating stuff, all of a sudden you're like, I feel like so alone.
Yeah, like what if we did that when you come back, or we'd even
Yeah,
like start
that'd be
while you're there.
super fun,
We'll just ship people out to freaking Lombok, survive an earthquake or whatever, or even have like these dinner parties where people are like closing their eyes, and I think so many things are gonna happen from that.
Yeah, 100%. We did a blindfolded dinner in Ubud with 12 people. They said it was one of the best experiences of their entire lives.
Like I would go to that, man.
I want to do that. Yeah.
Let's do that. Food, people, and Kratom.
And then just see what happens.
This podcast is sponsored by Kratom.
That's like one of the. Like Hanson said, this is illegal in the States. Is this
What?
Is this illegal?
Yeah, it's not legal in the States.
That's
You gotta
ridiculous.
find a way to ship this, man. This is like plant medicine.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
So funny. It's
Want
like,
some water? I feel like there's green stuff all over that.
So
Can I drink some of that?
yeah, sure, take it.
Ah.
But yeah, so I mean, apart from, it was born from the shirts. It was born
Yeah.
from connection. But now what I Trust You is an ecosystem of organizations designed to regenerate the earth. So everything that we do, every thing that we create now is really to give back to humanity and give back to the earth. And so out of that was born I Trust You Leadership. So that's why I'm leaving tomorrow, is I'm going to be hosting a beautiful Humans I Trust Mastermind in London at Soho House. And we are having people, like, it's so funny, like, I sometimes forget and I underestimate the power that is coming together with this movement. Because I was like, oh yeah, like, let's have a few people there, like, I'll, make a few posts about it. And now we literally have, I got a message this morning, someone's flying in from Serbia, someone's flying in from Finland, someone's flying in from freaking France. Like, it's just like people from all over Europe are coming to London for a 1-day event.
wow.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, it's only going to be for like 6-7 hours, and people are coming in because of the community that we're cultivating, because there's no public link about it anywhere. You have to get voted into the community. You have to be either personally invited by me or one of the Humans I Trust members. And so it's really about bringing together people that are not only creating massively profitable businesses, but that are interested in giving back to the earth. And so that's kind of like, one of our segments as well is the leadership community. And so we're actually building a platform for these Humans I Trust, and it's going to be like a highly curated LinkedIn. So if you could imagine coming into a social network for entrepreneurs where you have to be voted in, and so the founding members each get 3 invotes. And then you can bring people in, and there's going to be a testimonial system, because I don't know about you guys, but like, as an entrepreneur, I've lost like close to $100,000 in people that I trusted that screwed me over.
You should have worn your t-shirts. I'm only going to give money to businesses that wear these t-shirts.
Totally. That's a good thing actually to, filter out. But
how did you attract these people to come to your mastermind, for everyone that's listening in and want the actual marketing?
100%. Yeah. So the first thing is I reach out to my network. So the biggest like marketing tip that I can give you is one-on-one messaging. Like, that's the highest conversion rate. Like, if I send you a link, I'm like, hey Mike, this is my event, would love you to come, blah, blah, blah. It's a lot, higher conversion rate than if you just like see the post and you're like, oh, like, let me go to this mastermind. There has to be a one-on-one interaction, especially for things that are more high level. And the way I usually do it is I don't never ask for a direct sale. I'm not like, hey, come to the mastermind. But I'm like, hey, can you share about this? Can you share this with your community? So on the one hand, I'm asking like for referrals. And on the other hand, I'm informing them in a non-threatening way about it. And so
I'm coming after your child if you don't come.
Exactly.
Right? Your firstborn is mine.
Yeah. And so I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs just really need to read some sales books, like they're just like foot in the door, buy my stuff, like, facts. And this is why it's better than everyone else. And it's like, whoa, like that's not sexy. Like, I work with attraction marketing, it's
yeah.
like,
Can you imagine if like that's how guys tried attracting women?
yeah.
Like, buy myself.
Yeah.
I am a good guy.
Sleep
I'm
with
funny.
me, sleep with
I
me,
like
sleep
long
with
walks
me.
on the beach.
Totally.
That's amazing. And is this like your main business, or are you still working with your agency on the side, or is that agency funding this? And like, where is that in your life?
Great question. So I was talking about New York and creating I Trust You. And so I was like, this is amazing. This is going to change the world. And this was 3 years ago, right? Like, you guys didn't hear about I Trust You 3 years ago, right? And so I put all the money that I had like saved. I borrowed money from my ex-husband. Actually, I was married. And I was like, hey, I need to buy all these shirts. So I spent $12,000 to order all of these shirts because I didn't know about things like Printful back then. And they needed to be like ethically sourced and like organic cotton and all this kind of stuff. Because I was like, we want to be here to save the world. We're not going to like go like order products in India and China. And so, I spent all this money on that and I was like, crap, and I don't have any money for the marketing. And like, also like I've never launched a product before. I had to like Google how to make a website, so I was like totally stage one entrepreneur. And so I ran out of all my money and I'm like, okay, now I don't have anything to live from. Like I have this like big movement that I want to like change the world with, but like there's nothing here. There's no traction. There's no business. There's no nothing. And like, sure, we did sell some of the shirts and like maybe like $600 worth, it's like nothing to make a dent in, like the in total, like probably $15,000 investment that I put down. And so I was like, okay, like change of plans. And then that's when, I kept on getting all this like social media stuff coming. I literally have a video of myself. I was in the Dominican Republic. I had like $300. Like I was totally broke. My friend, she owns a boutique hotel there. She just like gave me a room for free. Like God bless her soul. And I was like there, like trying to figure it out. And I was like, I have a video of myself like crying for like 20 minutes. I'm like, God, I'm trying to do the good thing, but like, I can't feed myself. Then how am I supposed to do this? Like I had this like whole crisis. And then two days later after that, I get a tweet from the BBC and they're like, yo, we just researched the internet for like the top like Snapchat consultant. And like, we think it's you and we researched everyone. We want to have a call with you. I was like, the BBC is a knocking, I was like, God, thank you, and so, and then I was incidentally flying out to London anyways to host the Snapchat Awards. So I like co-founded the first ever Snapchat Award show. We flew in all these like Snapchat influencers. Oh my God, I never made that realization. That thing that I was like reaching out to people about on LinkedIn, I actually did it. Bam, manifested it. And so I was like going to London, and then I had a meeting with the BBC with all their TV commissioners. I did like a training on Snapchat, and they're like, we want to hire you to launch our BBC Snapchat. And I was like, oh my God, amazing. So they offered me, this contract, then I moved to London. I was going to go back to the Dominican Republic, but then I like didn't take my flight. And then so from that, I started like really, coming into a space. And Soul Pancake, they're also like kind of like a happiness channel. I then started managing their Snapchat, and then I just kind of grew from there. And then I started getting invited. And the next year after that was like my speaking tour. I got invited to speak at like 25 events all over the world, was getting flown out. I spoke at VidCon in Amsterdam and cool. Australia. And then I literally had like CMOs hunting me down, like with their laptops, like presenting me their companies. This is what we do and we want to hire you. And so like my first contract was like $80,000, what I mean? I didn't even have a team. Like it was just me. I was like, okay, I have to hire people, And so I just like created this like social media business from like my reputation, from my press, from my speaking, all this kind of stuff, and people coming to me. And then that's where I learned how to be an entrepreneur. That's how I learned how to manage teams and budgets and all that kind of stuff. And then, so after doing that for 2 years and growing that company, it just never felt right. You know what I mean? It was so draining. Like I was just like, ugh, like I'm just like feeding this like consumeristic like world of like telling people like how they're not good enough and how they need to buy this stuff. And I'm like, that just doesn't resonate with me. I can't do it, and it just didn't bring me joy. So I was like, okay, well, what do I really want to do? I want to do I Trust You. So it was in around December, like I went to the Gili Islands, like, for 2 weeks, no phone, no nothing, like really just like, sat in presence of like, what do I want to do for the world? And then so in 2019, like, coming into the new year, I wrote down all my goals. Like, what do I want to do? And it was just like, I trust you, I trust you, I trust you. Mm-hmm. And so that's when we decided to launch the university. And so I've been building it. And we're launching at the end of August, and I brought together all these like superstar professors, with like my network. I know like some of the best coaches and leaders and teachers. And so we've been building content, building this online university. And so there's all these amazing different things that we're doing now. And I Trust You is just a massive ecosystem to bring consciousness more into the mainstream. My friend David Weber calls us like the Trojan unicorn, like we're like the Trojan unicorn horse. We're just like, hey guys, like so just like little unicorn galloping in, and then we're like, ha, now you are all loved on and trusted.
We love you now. Loved on and trusted. That's amazing. And so right now then you are still doing the agency work, or you just you fired all your clients?
Well, so I fired most of my clients, but there's some people that are coming in through the I Trust You ecosystem, like that are amazing, like good companies that I, really care about and that I want to support. And so, because I have this team in place, because we have the expertise in place, like now when after London, I'm going to fly to Austria. So one of our clients is this beautiful hotel, Saalbacher Hof, and they've been around for like ever, and they're both A-festers and they're all about like personal development. They have like breath workshops and they're really cultivating like a beautiful creation there. And so I'm really passionate about helping them. Like them, I could, shout about all day. And so Oscar's actually doing all of their content, their stories, all that kind of stuff, the video. And so, there will be still some clients that we'll work with. And there's also a way that I'm imagining, so I had a call with one of our professors today, Colleen Gallagher, who's a social media expert, and it's all about like sharing your authentic message like through your heart, you know what I mean? Like none of this kind of like superficial stuff. And so I feel like there's also a way in which I Trust You can facilitate growth for companies, for good companies, right? And so for brands that we would certify, because that's another thing that we're going to start doing. We're going to have the I Trust You certification, in which we kind of like give the stamp, this is a trusted company, and they're in alignment with our 11 new Earth goals, and they're here to create, a regenerative Earth and not just like take with what they're doing. So I feel like that's going to be an element of social media, because it keeps on coming back. And I think that marketing and business, I mean, it's such a passion of mine. Like I could geek out about it like all day, like strategies and content and influencers and how it all comes together and how to really like represent your brand. And so I feel like that will just be used for good. And I do want to support and create a network of companies that are actually changing the world and thinking about it and sourcing their materials ethically, treating their employees with love, and bringing out, healing, bringing out medicine with their food instead of, sugar and like, exhausting people and making them sick. So I think it's going to be a part of what we do for sure.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be huge, right? Because, for example, and it's so amazing to hear that side of your story, because, number one, like before this, I didn't know much about that. And now, two, knowing about it, I'm like so excited, because I feel like hearing that story, and I feel like the kratom's just like really hitting me because my eyes are just, But hearing your story, I feel like there's almost like every single person right now that I'm talking to personally are almost giving up their main cash cow to focus on this bigger, higher purpose thing. Like Hanson hasn't taken any video clients on because he was just like value. Like for me, since like in the initial time of my life, right, I was only focusing on revenue first and value later. That's what happens when you're really good at like sales and marketing and advertising. You understand things, so you just can sell anything. But then it was like burning a hole in my heart, because I was like, why do I feel not fulfilled? And even when people buy and they're getting results, why do I feel like I'm not resonating with them when I have a conversation with them? Mm-hmm. And it just goes along the lines with whatever doesn't fuel you, you shouldn't focus on. Maybe hire a team to, kind of like what you did. But you should really find the thing that fuels you, that you love doing, that the world needs, and that just serves everyone. But here's like the crazy thing, what I'm super excited, because right now, of course, like you're doing this, you probably are taking a pay cut from what you were doing before. Same thing with me, same thing with Hanson. But if we look at it on a grander scheme of things, on what's actually going to happen, is if you look at all of the business owners or the people that got into a business not because they wanted to make money, but because they were just so passionate about it. They had this amazing community and they just loved it so much, right? Like Joe Rogan. He has his podcast, and I was like super inspired. He's one of the reasons why like I want to do this, because I was like, I'm done making 10-minute YouTube videos of me jumping out of a bush with my like freaking without a t-shirt, being like, hey, you want to make money online? Like, I'm done doing that. I mean, like, don't get me wrong. There's still some women that are like ages 45 following me like, why is your shirt on? In the comments, I'm like, I'm higher purpose, damn it. But, I really think that when we have these conversations that are 1 or 2 hours long, and we talk about what are the pressing matters that we need to talk about in this world, and how people out there, they're focusing on money, but they're so alone and they're hitting these results, that when we follow those values, kind of like what you're probably going to certify these companies on, and this is the weirdest thing, right? The moment you stop focusing on the money and you just focus on community, value, and tribe, you almost accidentally make more money than when you would have just focused on the money, right? there was this concept known as reality transurfing or something like that. Are you guys familiar with it? It's like this, it's quantum physics, reality architecture. This, I like accidentally read it when I was like 18 or 19. It was this weird book that was created by this Russian quantum physicist. And he was basically saying how your goals and everything that you want out of life is the exact same thing as like attraction with dating. And he didn't say that. This is just kind of like the 2 to 2 I put together. Mm-hmm. And that is, if you focus on something too much, it will elude you. It almost is like you want to define what it is that you want out of life and then to actually forget it and to follow what this brain thinks. Not like, and I'm pointing at my heart, not my head. Because if you're doing something in a business or in whatever that's not aligned with this, it's almost like you're doing it by force. But if you're operating at this and you know the goal, but you're not focusing on it, it just almost comes naturally. Mm. And the best metaphor I could think about this is like a girl, right? Like, for example, for me, because I mean, when I was younger, I was always eluded by how can I attract the most beautiful girl, right? And whenever I would find one when I was like 18 or 17 or 16, right? And this was like in the suburbs, so they were really rare. Like they're not like in Canggu where you just see one every 5 minutes. You're like, and you almost feel weird if you don't see someone attractive the next 5 minutes. That's why we're all hugging each other here, because like everyone's just so damn sexy here. Right? But if you think about it, right, like I would be so attracted to a girl to the point where when I would actually meet her, I would get so nervous because she was just on the pedestal in my brain. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of like most of the things that we want. We put money on this pedestal, and then because of it, when the opportunities come, we freak out and we either mess up on a deal or they feel that the intention of service isn't there and then the deal's off. Mm-hmm. But then the way you're doing it with the I Trust You movement, with the university, with like your professors is you're already teaching them to lead with the value. And then when they look back, they're like, holy crap, I accidentally got rich and I'm still happy.
Yeah.
So can you talk more about that? And then we could like just sign off with this because I know you have a meeting and I just want to be respectful of your time.
No worries.
Where can people find more about this movement that you have or buy these t-shirts that we got from made from Hanalei
Swan and Bamboo.
Yeah.
So if you go on www.itrustyou.love, so pretty simple, itrustyou.love, you'll be able to see all the different projects. So on the one hand, the I Trust You missions, where you can become an ambassador and lead your own kindness missions in your local city. The university, you can sign up and become one of our first students. And yeah, what's really exciting as well is I have a meeting soon about creating our own cryptocurrency. So the I Trust You coins. And so what we're going to do with that is we're going to incentivize people to do good. So if you go out in your community and you pick up trash or, you volunteer at orphanages or an elderly home or whatever, you'll actually get paid to do that through our cryptocurrency. So that's quite exciting, and so
that's good. That's get paid to love.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
get paid to
that's
trust.
like
Get paid to be an angel.
Omnipresent, like positive prostitution.
Totally.
But like in a good way for love.
In the best way. And so as well as, when you're, learning at the university, at first, of course, you will pay an upfront to get the course. However, my biggest thing is I don't want people just to buy the courses. I want people to take the courses. And at the moment, there's a 95% fall off rate. And so
you got to gamify it.
Totally, exactly. And so as you are watching, as you are doing the homework, as you're completing, all the missions, you're getting paid. So that you can essentially kind of also make that money back that you've invested. And I feel like that's going to create an ecosystem where, because with I Trust You, I really want everyone that's involved to be benefiting from the upside. And so definitely go on itrustyou.love, sign up, become an ambassador, sign up for the university. That's just itrustuniversity.com. And then connect with me at Virginia Salas Castillo, my full name on Instagram. And then our I Trust You Instagram is at I Trust You Movement. So come and play, come and connect, come and change the world. And the thing is also just to kind of, end off with is there's not really much time, you know, like we think we're like, oh, great. Like the UN was like, you know, you have 12 years now until like the climate drastically changes and all this kind of stuff. Like at the moment we have a 3-year window to like change the way that we consume, change the way that we are taking from the earth until we're no longer going to be here. And it's not about saving the earth. You know, people are like, oh, save the earth. It's not about that. It's about saving us. So it's like humanity. Is humanity still going to exist? Because the earth is going to be just fine. It's going to recover. New species will come, etc. But life as we know it won't be possible anymore. And I just think that would be such a shame that it's due to fear and greed and our own, you know, blinding and just looking at, you know, what it is that we're creating and what am I getting, that we're soon going to not get anything. You know, it's like one of those kids that like wants all its sweets now, you know, and then the mom's like, no, now you will never have sweets again. And you're like, oh. And so that's the situation that we're in. So like, let's really, you know, shift our mindset and shift our businesses in the way that we're showing up, because we're not going to have a world to show up for soon. So
yeah, I love it. And the more I could help you in any way possible, just like let me know, because I truly love what you're all about. I love your vibe. I love your energy. I love the tribe that you're building. And I just feel excited and happy to even just get to know you here.
Thank you. Same. I'm super excited. When I come back, we're going to do blindfolded dinners and walk around blindfolded. And yeah, I just really appreciate it. So thank you for catching me before I fly and getting to be here in this sexy ass studio that you guys have built.
It's going to be so different when you come back. And
we're going to put a stripper pole like right here.
Perfect.
Stripper pole Sundays.
Disco ball.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
You